I probably should have put the tight ends in with the wide receiver video, but I'm not exactly the smartest person out there, so yeah. Sorry. Anyways, the tight ends. When you talk about the tight ends, I think you kind of have to start with CJ Fedorowicz and his concussions. I just think Fedorowicz should walk away from the game for his own good, for his own health, instead of playing one more year and risking getting a couple more concussions, or getting more concussions throughout his career. And when you talk about CJ Fedorowicz, I think at this point you gotta talk about what he could have been, because history has shown once players start getting multiple concussions, it becomes a recurring problem throughout their career. And I want Fedorowicz to walk away from the game healthy, rather than to be in a tough spot to where he absolutely has to walk away from the game because of it. Right now he still has a choice. It's up to him, but from a fan of Fedorowicz, because I really like Fedorowicz, I like what he could have been. I mean, maybe he could turn it around. I don't know, man, but it puts the Texans in a really tough spot, because say Fedorowicz decides not to walk away from the game, which I'm pretty sure is going to be the scenario. I highly doubt Fedorowicz walks away from the game. So let's say Fedorowicz chooses not to walk away from the game. So the Texans would probably not go get another tight end. And then, the season's going on, the Texans are playing, and then say Fedorowicz gets hurt again. Because that's a realistic scenario. And if Fedorowicz gets hurt, well, now the Texans don't have a starting tight end. That's a tough spot to be in, because if Fedorowicz would have retired, in the off season, the Texans could have done something about the tight end issue, whether it was draft, free agency. So it's not really a spot you really want to be in. And if you're the Texans, you also don't want to force Fedorowicz into retirement. I mean, you could tell him, man, you do what's good for you, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure Fedorowicz is gonna do what he wants, and I'm pretty sure what he wants is to keep playing, because who doesn't really want to keep playing, especially when you're as young as Fedorowicz. I think Fedorowicz is like 26, so pretty sure Fedorowicz is gonna keep playing. Now, Ryan Griffin also had injury problems this past season. 2016, similar to Fedorowicz, had a pretty decent season, nothing like spectacular, but good enough. Now Ryan Griffin, I think he's just average at best. Not that great of a run blocker, pretty good at catching the ball. But my favorite thing about Ryan Griffin, and it is absolutely the reason I think we should keep him, is his chemistry with Deshaun Watson. One play in particular that comes to mind is against the Patriots. Ryan Griffin, well, it was at the inside or just outside the Patriots 20. It was in scoring range. So Ryan Griffin goes for a route in the end zone. Deshaun Watson throws it behind Ryan Griffin. Ryan Griffin adjusts for it perfectly and catches it in the back of the end zone. That was just a beautiful play. That you only get that play with chemistry, and I think Ryan Griffin and Deshaun Watson have great chemistry, and I think that's worth keeping around. I'm not saying Ryan Griffin should be, the starting tight end for the Texans, but he'd be good to have around as a number 2 tight end. I wouldn't mind them keeping Ryan Griffin. I kind of like Ryan Griffin. He's okay. I think he does a good job, and again, if Deshaun Watson and Ryan Griffin can keep that chemistry going, I mean, why not? You already saw the type of throws Deshaun Watson can make to him, so wouldn't mind it at all. Now, Steven Anderson was surprisingly our most efficient tight end last season, and probably our most healthy as well. And I really like what Steven Anderson could be. Right now, I still think he's kind of inconsistent, but he is our best pass catching tight end in terms of just catching the ball. I actually believe he's probably our second most sure-handed receiver behind DeAndre Hopkins, but again, consistency is key when it comes to Steven Anderson. Steven Anderson had like a good game against the Titans, and then the next week he came back and wasn't so good. And yeah, that's just the type of receiver or tight end Steven Anderson is right now. If he can get more consistent, he can be like Jordan Reed. And what you know, Steven Anderson, he's too big to be a wide receiver, but also too small to really be a tight end. So what they call them is tweeners. And they're just a mismatch everywhere you put them. That's why I do think they need to utilize Steven Anderson more, because Steven Anderson is too big for your everyday average corner, and he's too fast for your everyday linebacker. So Steven Anderson is just a mismatch. Like, he's someone I think we have to keep, because I really do like what Steven Anderson can become. As of right now, I think for Steven Anderson, it's just consistency. Needs to be more consistent, and I think with Deshaun Watson, he can really thrive. Now, I'm not saying Steven Anderson is going to be the franchise tight end forever. He's going to be a stud. Well, I mean, he could be a stud, but I still feel like we need a tight end that's capable of blocking, and I feel like Steven Anderson doesn't bring that to the table because he's too small. Like, Steven Anderson, you're not really going to line him up at the end of the line. You're probably going to line him up like at the slot position, or, you know, like not next to a tackle. I mean, you could, but you're going to obviously know he's going to go out for a pass because he's not a good run blocker. So I do think we need a tight end. We need to address the tight end position. But again, it's going to be tough to do so because you got CJ Fedorowicz not sure about his future. I mean, it's going to be really hard to carry 4 tight ends. That's just not going to happen. So unless CJ Fedorowicz retires, I do not see the Texans going for a tight end. Personally, in the perfect scenario, Fedorowicz walks away from the game for his own good, and the Texans address the tight end position. And I do like what the tight ends can be. I like the potential Steven Anderson has. He has the potential to be like Jordan Reed. I like Ryan Griffin because of the chemistry he has with Deshaun Watson, and I like what Fedorowicz could have been, but you don't have that for sure reliable starter. You know, that Jason Witten, that Rob Gronkowski, Zach Ertz, you know, the guy that can block, he can go out for a pass, reliable hands, that safety blanket. The Texans don't really have that. Fedorowicz could have been it, but, you know, the concussions. Ryan Griffin, maybe, but I feel like he's more of a number 2 tight end. I don't feel like he's just good enough to be that guy. And Steven Anderson, you know, too inconsistent so far, can't block. So the Texans need a tight end, but who do they go after realistically? I mean, people want to say Jimmy Graham. Personally, you know, I like Jimmy Graham, but I think he's too expensive, or he's going to be too expensive, and he's too old. Another guy people throw around a lot is Tyler Eifert. Tyler Eifert is a risky signing in my opinion. He's extremely injury prone. He seems to be hurt every year, but when he's not hurt, the guy is a really good tight end. So I could totally understand why people throw him out there. But I think going for Tyler Eifert is similar to CJ Fedorowicz. You don't know how available he's going to be. Your best ability is availability, and Tyler Eifert hasn't really been available these past few years. Another guy a lot of people throw out, and personally I kind of do like him, Trey Burton from Philly. Burton is Philly's 3rd string tight end, so I highly doubt Philly re-signs him, so he's probably going to be available, so he'd be a guy actually worth looking at. I think the only issue I really have with him is his size. He's similar size to Steven Anderson, so I'm not sure I would really go for him. And market value wise, he's projected to make similar money to CJ Fedorowicz, so whatever CJ Fedorowicz got is pretty much what Burton is expected to make, so I wouldn't really mind that. But personally, tight end, I do believe is a need. I don't think the Texans will really address it unless Fedorowicz retires, which I highly doubt he would. And I really wouldn't address tight end until after we go get offensive linemen and DBs. I think those are the top two priorities. I think tight end comes probably at 4 behind offensive line, DBs, and backup quarterback. But that's just me. So that's all I really have for you guys today. Make sure to comment down below, because personally I do believe tight end is one of the trickiest spots in the roster right now. Not really a huge need, but still a need nonetheless, and just a tough spot to be in on the roster. So yeah, also be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.